Salve discipline. This is another take of this video. I just realized I left some things out that I wanted to talk about in the last take, so we're redoing it and losing 10 minutes. Anyway, so every week is my intention to have a video, at least a video like this, where I say, hey, this is what we're doing this week, and just talking about it in English. Before I do that, though, I do want to talk about this announcement. So a lot of people are asking, and I don't know if you come from a history, maybe some of you, where you have synchronous online. My understanding is that most of the courses at Pellissippi right now are asynchronous online, but there are a few that are synchronous. For the first 2 weeks, I know these don't exist. I mean, they exist in theory, but they don't exist in practice. Nobody can meet for the first couple of weeks on campus. But anyway, I think this explains the difference between among the different modes that we have this semester. But yeah, asynchronous online in a nutshell means we're not going to meet virtually as a class, and I'm not going to like lecture to a Zoom meeting. That's not going to happen. As a matter of fact, it cannot happen according to the root policies we set forth. Students, if you choose this option, that means you don't want to do that. So, and I didn't say this anywhere else, but if you do prefer that, I don't think there's a section of any of the courses I teach that are also synchronous. So if you need those sections, I think that you have to do asynchronous, but if asynchronous doesn't work for you, and I can understand, there's no shame in that, because you guys, most of you probably would not have chosen to do this online. It's kind of forced on all of us. So I understand how that could be a problem. And I don't blame you for there's some courses I would never have taken. This one, maybe it's not such a big deal to do online. I would not have taken my first programming class online, for instance, but you got to do what you got to do in these weird circumstances. So anyway, I hope that explains that. You do not have to meet anytime during the week. You just have to complete your activities by the deadlines. That's it for this course. All right. So what you want to do each week is, and it's going to change. This is going to be the same, but not the same for each of you, and I'll show you what I mean. If you click on content, that's where everything is, or most things are anyway that you're concerned about. I think it saves the last place you were, because I know this is different from the last take. It saves the last place you were. So just to be oriented, if you want to a good starting place, go to course by unit, and then there's 3 parts. These have stuff in them. I've just hidden it because I want to make sure it's correct before I reveal it. Same here. In part 1, there's several weeks. I want to make sure they're correct before I release them. I might release them 1 week at a time too, so people don't work ahead. That's kind of that can cause issues sometimes too. But anyway, you want to go to course by unit, part 1, or whatever part we're on in the semester. There are 3 parts in the semester, and then whichever week we're on. And I should probably do a video. I don't know if you'll really need to do this every week once you get used to it, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, if you click in here, this is the way this is going to be set up pretty much. And this is some of the stuff I left out. I kind of skipped over the last part, but you'll have a checklist at the very top, and then you should have. Some of this might change a little bit, but I see it. I don't see how. So this is probably what it's going to look like. You'll have PowerPoints, MindTap activities, and then a quiz for that module or that week or that chapter or however you want to call it. Yeah, I should probably pick one name and stick with it, but I didn't design this course, so I'm going with what's here. Since the last time I taught this course, we've adopted MindTap, which is something I might not have chosen to do, but I have to go with it because that's what we've decided as a faculty. Anyway, so that's what's in here. So I've got this sort of in a suggested order of how you should do things, kind of, not really. Actually, I just realized the PowerPoint. Sometimes I would recommend putting the PowerPoint after the reading, so you like read the chapter and then review by looking at the PowerPoints. But some people might want to do it the other way, like get an introduction to the reading and then get more detail. That can go either way. But after you've done everything else for the chapter, it should prepare you to take the quiz. That's what that's how I see it. So the quiz will be last. And this is the main thing I left out. It's this part right here in my last take. But anyway, so what I recommend is just going to the checklist. And what you'll see is the checklist links to a lot of that other stuff anyway. So again, the checklist has things in the order I recommend you do things, but you can jump around however you, as long as you complete everything, it doesn't matter, right? So you can jump around. But this is sort of how I would like do things if it were me. So for this week in particular, if you haven't done the stuff that we released on Friday to get introduced to the course, do that first. So that's why I got start here at the top. And it likewise has a checklist. So go through its checklist and then come back to here and do the rest of this checklist. So I hope this is not confusing, but I used the checklist to try to put everything in one place for you so you know you're done. So it's kind of redundant in a way, because say, for instance, this link to the reading you can also find in those mind tap activities, and the PowerPoint is also in the one level up from here outside of the checklist, right? And the quiz likewise is one level up. But what I try to do, my goal is to make it to where you can get to everything from the checklist. And the idea is that if you've completed all these activities and you can check off all these activities, then you should be done. And one of the other biggest things I left out is that the due dates, for now, I'm going to try to put them only in the checklist. Let me know if that works for you or not. Sometimes the student experience is different from what I imagine it is, but the idea is you have 1 day due date for each activity that you need to do. If you look elsewhere in Brightspace for the assignments, for instance, the drop boxes, I could also put the due dates there, but then you would have 2 different due dates for the same thing, especially if I don't put the same date. Sometimes my dates get out of whack, and I don't want to make that even more confusing. But even if it's the same date, you're like, why is this due date of January 25th here twice for this one thing? So I'm going to try to put things only in the checklist. So let me know if it shows up on the calendar or not. I think it should. But yeah, just go by. If there is a conflict, go by this due date, the one in the checklist. There shouldn't be, though. Let me know if you see something weird like that. So I also try to make it to where you can link to things from the checklist. Again, I want you to have a one-stop place where you can see what all your tasks are for the week. So this should take you to the Mind Tap reading. And Unit 1 reading, you see here. So let me know if it doesn't take you to the right place. 1-2 second edition. Anyway, yeah, so let me know if it doesn't take you to the right place, but you should be able to get to things from the links in the checklist. This opens up a whole new window. So PowerPoint, I recommend using that as a review after you do the reading. So that's that. And then the Mind Tap activity. So there's one link to that whole sub module in Brightspace that you can see outside of the checklist. So here's the reading. You want to do this in Mind Tap and get a score on it. I'll use that to apply the grade in the. I'll review the Mind Tap activity to get the grade for the grade book. This is just review and practice. And then the case studies, the way they work is that you will have these case studies. And it'll present a case study to you. It'll ask you some critical thinking questions. Start assignment now. So you'll get this. So read all this, think about it, answer these questions, put them in. Copy the questions and then put the answers in either like plain text or Microsoft Word also works, a Word document. Where it says choose file, you don't really need to do this here. This says submit to the Dropbox. That's after you choose the file and submit assignment for grading. You don't need to do this step. You do need to go to the second question though. There's more than one question here. But just put them in that Word or plain text document and then submit them to the Dropbox in Brightspace. So I put a link to the Dropbox here. So again, you don't have to like jump around, find things. So you would add the file and find what your answers are to those case studies and submit them to the Dropbox in Brightspace. So that's just a different way of getting to this. See where you have Unit 1 case study responses. You could also just click here and upload those answers. But I tried to make it to where everything, again, I put links to those things from the checklist. Technically, it's not from the checklist. It's from the checklist takes you to the MindTap activities, and then that takes you. This case studies one has a link to the Brightspace Dropbox. So do this one in MindTap, and then this one you read everything in MindTap, but the answers go to Brightspace. I hope that's clear. If it's not, send me an email and I'll try to clear it up. Okay, I think that covered everything, and maybe in less time. So again, we won't have any classes where you don't have classes scheduled where we meet on Zoom or something. So put that out of your mind. Just go through the checklist and do your activities. Now, I'll have office hour schedules within the next week. That will be up. You'll have information about that. But before then, if you do need to talk one-on-one, just send me an email. We can arrange a time to meet for 30 minutes or so, however much time. If you want to talk something out one-on-one on Zoom or Microsoft Teams, we can do that. But after that, I'll have a schedule for office hours. All right. Any questions, send me an email. And have a great semester.